Hello and welcome, friends, to this week's video, where we'll be talking about airships, exploring the long storied history, perhaps a lot longer than we've been told, as well as Nikola Tesla's connection to them, and his delivery system involving airships, Tesla towers, and free energy from the ether above. So I wanted to speak a little bit on the false flag event that pretty much wiped out the airships, aside from the helium embargo from the US. The Germans had complete control of the skies up until then with these airships. They needed a false flag event, the Hindenburg, one of the first false flags in recent times, to completely change the public's perspective. You see here the public around the Graf Zeppelin and huge fanfare, just absolutely huge. You compare that to the flight of the Wright brothers, and it's basically a completely different crowd, small little crowd, barely anyone seems interested in the whole thing. That's because I believe flight was already around, at least not the parasites version of flight, the airships. What are we told about them? The only thing you really ever were told were they were dangerous. They go boom. But with just that one false flag, Hindenburg disaster, out of the 97 people on board, there were only 35 fatalities, of which only 13 were passengers. And that's the only real passengers that have ever perished on an airship. The rest were mostly during military time. The accident occurred with Hindenburg when they had no choice but to switch to the hydrogen over helium. Now, where Tesla came into play here is, as he always said, if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, think in terms of frequency, energy, and vibrations. And Tesla had a huge plan to power all of humanity using the energy from the ether above, the electric vibrations. And airships were going to be a big part of that. So I created these things called Tesla bulbs, which basically a high frequency alternator could send energy in the form of light, beams if you were. Kind of like an energy beam, both as a weapon and as a power source. Tesla's death ray. Here's a close-up shot on that Tesla bulb too. Of course, all technology that, over 100 years old, but all was taken away right after Tesla's death. In fact, they tore down his Tesla tower in his Texas laboratory right after his death as well. See, this is one of his concept drawings here, and from his Tesla towers, using those Tesla bulbs, he would beam the energy right to and from these airships, as well as vehicles, ships at sea, and pretty much any other device. You could power your car right from this. Here, it's cars. Now these were a specially designed airship. I'll talk about that in a moment. Part of Tesla's experiment in 1920 in March. So using the aircraft propelled by wireless power and those Tesla UV lights, you'd beam the ultraviolet beam right into the highly ionized air, conductor of the radio energy waves that he'd be blasting from these generators. And he would have these generators stationed, from remote isolated islands here to, anywhere. Also, ships in the ocean would be able to receive these radio-powered propulsions. And this was all done in 1920. It's a worldwide concept on a heliocentric model, but pretty simple, and what I've been saying in a lot of my videos about the ether free energy. And I believe Tesla, there's a lot of conspiracy on him, whether he actually existed or not. I believe, if anything, he discovered a lot of old world tech and was able to, re-engineer it and bring it back into the public eye before it was quickly shut down by the parasites. The airships played a big part of this. They were established, trusted technology, reliable tech. And they were around a lot longer than they tell us. He invented his own airship using this UV electric propulsion and delivery system. You can see here with no propeller, no sustaining wings, basically just a cylinder-shaped object in the sky. I believe that's what you see when you hear about those cigar-shaped UFOs that are so common. I believe it's just re-engineered Tesla tech, probably old world Vimana technology at that. Other flying machines that have been around, again, a lot longer than they've told us. But this one that Tesla had designed all the way back in 1920s could reach the speeds of over 350 miles per hour and send it thousands of miles away, radio controlled. Like I said, that's your cigar-shaped object that you see. He wanted to do that with that, cars, back to his concept drawing. And again, are you beginning to see why the controllers worked so hard to grab up all of Tesla's research, all of Tesla's notes, destroy those Tesla towers? Then Google cigar-shaped UFOs. Look at that. This one, really fascinating. I launched the link on it here. It's kind of really shaky camera, but this was the best shot the news channel 19 got. I mean, that looks just like an airship to me. That's far from the only ones. If you just keep scrolling down, I mean, it's like a cross between those airships and those Tesla attacks. And I said, that's reinvented Tesla technology. 1952. After he died, the government seized all of his work, and that was one of them. I mean, it's pretty darn similar if you compare them side by side. Here you have a report of it between 1901 1916. You can see Tesla's towers right at work. Just keep a look at those towers here. Let me know if they remind you of something in just a moment. Tesla's laboratory in Long Island. There's another concept of Tesla's energy beams. And again, like I said, the Tesla death rays. Makes me wonder if these airships with these light beams coming down on these bombing run depictions were more than just lights. Though, with these Tesla towers, what they remind me of are airship mooring stations. Not only could you transmit energy with those mooring stations, those towers, but you can also dock on them, transport and unload passengers with ease from them. And again, like I said, with old world technology, look at some of these. Like the New Brighton Observation Tower, built in the late 1800s, of course burned down by fire. But look at that tower. That's an old world Tesla tower, an old world ether transmitting antenna, and a mooring station. You ever wonder why these skies are so whited out? I mean, look at this. You can see the terrible editing job here of it. It's cut out right from there. Just so out of place in all the other buildings even. Again, like I said, old world mooring stations. These airships were commonplace. These mooring stations could have been built anywhere. Load and unload with ease. No need for airports. And they could also power them and generate free energy. Just look at these crowds at this R100 airship. Build them in the middle of a cow pasture. Don't need the busy hustle and bustle of an airport. And these were already well-established old world technology, and that's why all those skyscrapers would have mooring stations built in them. They say that it was just a concept that never took off, but I highly doubt anything that the mainstream narrative says. I take it with less than a grain of salt. They said they've lied to us about everything. Do you think they would really build all these skyscrapers with mooring stations that were just concepts that never took off? And it was too windy to actually pull off. That would be foolish to build them in city after city. Find many examples here of airships docking with skyscrapers, mooring stations established. That's what I think all these towers and clock towers were from the old world. These empty belfries with no bells in them. I say this was just a concept picture from the old times, but it never actually happened. And here's another one, the Empire State Building. Here's an airship flying over the Empire State Building from the observation deck of the mooring station on top of the Empire State Building. Here's another one as well. Zeppelin Columbia, I believe, was the airship that was. Yeah, Columbia, you can see right here. These mooring stations, they were, real high-tech technology. They didn't just establish them on a whim on top of skyscrapers and then take them down because they didn't work. This was well-established technology. But we needed to restrict navigation, limit freedoms. That's where the fixed-wing aircraft came in. Only go from point A to point B. Stuck in tin can. I believe a lot of those lighthouses, those towers, and those castles built on remote islands also were part of these airships. As you can see, they're far from dangerous. They can take quite a beating before it blown up. It's not like a big giant balloon. It's actually a metal container. It's a rigid shell with several bladders full of ideally helium inside. Missions were great though. You can build them on anywhere, on ships. They're great for, basically any situation. Arctic exploration, polar explorations. There were many documented explorations over the North Pole, South Pole, beyond the ice, that of course now is lost to us. Here's a expedition to the poles here on one of the airships. Airship Roma. And while the ship's traveling, you can dock it on the mooring station. No need for the ship to even stop. And the versatility here, and this was a water rescue at sea, and you can land them on the water. You've seen some of them on the water. Some of them even had ships that you could, like boats, that they would detach from the airship for water rescue, etc. And here's a airship hangar built on the waters right here. And it could take up no space. You didn't even need a land mass. You can just build it right on the water. But with that, folks, I believe you see the connection here between Tesla's free energy and why, again, they needed to get these airships out of the picture. Not just for exploration and for ease of transport, not sticking us in the sardine cans. They needed to erase all that free energy technology, all that technology left over from the old world. And again, they would have been a magnificent sight to behold. They used to dot the skies when they weren't whited out in the old world. That's what you would see. You look at all those great fires all happening around the late 1800s, all those destroyed cities, especially in the Civil War. I believe they were done by airship. I hope you enjoyed this week's video. I believe that's a good spot to wrap it up for the night. And looking forward to chatting again with you guys next week. And also, if you could like, share, subscribe if you haven't already. Helps out the channel immensely. And drop a comment. Let me know what you thought of this week's video. And what you would like to see covered in further videos. I hope to have one out next week again. If you want to support the channel, though, you can always, besides from liking, subscribing, and following, you can buy me a coffee. The link is in my bio. Also, check out the link in my Telegram for all my other pages, my TikTok, my Instagram. I post there quite often. And until next time, friends, question everything, and have a great rest of your week.